rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective on this 2025 Halloween night. Hope you guys are all, well, those of you who obviously are not watching but watch later, I hope you all have a fantastic Halloween, that you got plenty of trick-or-treaters, you know, that kind of thing, or if you have young ones and little ones that are running around, that you had a fantastic, you know, amount of candy that you were able to hand out. By the way, I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but the White House hosted a Halloween thing last night, and the Halloween thing at the White House included full-size candy bars. That's right, no fun-size stuff for Halloween there. Fun-size stuff is gone. No, just like when Trump bought McDonald's for everybody that one time, I think it was for a visiting championship team or whatever. He had the full-size bars. Yeah, and he even did a little thing with the bars that he did before. By the way, let's go ahead and take a look real quick here. Let's see. Here's what he did. So there they are, and he puts the bar on top of the flat head of the kid walking by. There you go. Yeah, the full-size bars. There it goes. Here, we'll do it one more time so you can actually see it. It was kind of a little... He's like telling him to put his head flat so he can put the candy bar on the top. Now, for those of you that don't know, he did that the last time he was in the White House, on the top of somebody who was dressed up like a minion. Yeah, so there you go. It was fantastic. So, yeah, there you go. And there were a couple other things there. So the Air Force Strolling Strings was the band that was there. They played Thriller, and also there was a trio of kids, a trio of siblings that were dressed as the president, first lady, and a Secret Service agent. Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. Trump laughed at his high five, and he high-fived his pint-sized look-alike, gesturing toward the girl in the mock Melania outfit and mouthing Melania to the reporters before posing for photos. So, yeah, it was really pretty cool. Yep. There was a boy dressed as a grimy toilet with the label wide load. That drew laughs from the crowd. And Trump was grinning and rewarded the party pooper, quote unquote, with a little bit of extra candy. And then there was another family that arrived with a homemade McDonald's drive-through wagon, earning nods of approval for the president. So there you go. Yep. And so that was cool. So there you go. All right. Enough with that. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off here tonight. Tonight is the NJY Camps Girls Band, who are up for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with the NJY Camps Girls Band as they recite or perform, I should say, the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
I thank you, of course, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing or reciting the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and obviously attach it to an email. Send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. If you do it on your phone, apparently you can hit share. That's how you get to the place where you send it off. And you'll be supposedly be given the option to send it via email. You can also send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. I am looking for number 21 and 22. So 21 first. Let's get 21 in. And then we can start talking about my fascination with even numbers, I should say. All right, tonight's headline sponsor is theflagshirt.com. That's right, they still have their patriotic styles for fall demonstration here. You can get wonderful hoodies, half zips, things like that in the fantastic colors of our great country, the red, white, and blue. You can go and check out all of their men's, women's, kids, made in the USA, their patriotic outfits that they have going on, any kind of accessories that they might have. And if you order $75 or more of their gear, they will give you free shipping. That is constant. It is all the time. Free shipping for $75 or more. But I understand not everybody can do that. Maybe you only want one shirt. Maybe you only want a couple of shirts, and it just doesn't add up to $75. That's fine. That's fine. So, all you need to do in that case is, I'm going to help you out. That's what I meant to say. I'm going to help you out. All you have to do is go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And you will be presented with a coupon code that you can copy and paste into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, where you will receive $5 off your order. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online to get that coupon code. Copy and paste that coupon code into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, and you'll get $5 off your order on American Perspective. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. Well, like I said, folks, happy Halloween. Hopefully you're enjoying all of it. My young ones are no longer young. So it's almost time. It's getting close, but in the very near future, or maybe a little bit farther future, you will see the young whiskey turn into grandpa whiskey. So, yeah, I'm sure that that's in my future, just not today. So, yeah, we'll see what happens after a while and we move on. But yeah, definitely go and grab it. And by the way, I do have to apologize. I think the other day I was saying that my Young Miss whiskey took off with all of our candy. I was actually wrong on that. We do have a bag here, and Mrs. Whiskey just had to, stuff me with a couple of York peppermint patties. Love those things. Anyway, all right. Well, we're going to start off with a couple of morons, a update, actually, on at least one of the morons that were out there. Sorry, had to take a drink. But the first moron of the evening, and I really need to get that stinger done, but the first moron of the evening is Jasmine Crockett. Well, Jasmine Crockett created or thought she was doing something in terms of she has a podcast, apparently. I don't know who watches it, but whatever. She took off on a fiery rant about the government shutdown, And while she was doing this, and yes, 3 Chevy, I did see all of your Moron Files videos. The thing about it is, 3 Chevy, is that I have to figure out not only how to bring them out of where you put them, but I also have to figure out if there's going to be a way for me to, like, do something with it. So I'll have to figure that out. But anyway, I did see them. And thank you very much for that work. All right. Where was I? Oh, yes. So she had a rambling monologue. I'm not going to play it for you, just because it's really hard to actually listen to her, knowing that she is or can speak in a normal English language and vocabulary and syntax, rather than her ghetto-like affect that she picks up whenever she speaks on the microphone and things of that nature. But anyway, as I was saying, she did this rambling monologue in her podcast, had plenty of ums and hells and other contradictions and things of that nature. Obviously, Crockett tried to pin the blame on President Trump and the GOP for the Schumer shutdown, except for the fact that she actually wound up admitting that Republicans are, in fact, the adults in the room. Yeah. So while she was doing this rant and going off about all these things that were happening, you know, with the Schumer shutdown and the history of the Schumer shutdown, she basically admitted that there was a shutdown during the Biden administration, and that the Biden administration had it resolved. Not because of the Biden administration, because the Democrats actually lacked the 60 votes necessary to pass a continuing resolution, a clean continuing resolution, like what we have here in front of us right now. And she supposedly chalked this up to Biden's leadership. I mean, let's be honest, he was non compos mentis throughout most of his presidential term. But what really happened, folks, is that Republicans went ahead and provided the votes necessary in order to keep the government funded under the clean CR. In fact, what Crockett forgot to mention, or really doesn't care to mention because it'll look bad on the Democrats, is that there were actually 13 clean continuing resolutions that were passed during the 4 years under Biden, thanks to, specifically, the Republicans. Yeah. Republicans, when faced with the choice between political brinksmanship and responsible governance, they went ahead and chose to be adults and pass a clean continuing CR. Yeah. Crockett, of course, dismissed Democratic responsibility for the current legislative gridlock by saying, quote, right now they want to say, wanna, W-A-N-N-A, not want to, but want to say, it's the Democrats that are holding us down when, hell, we ain't been able to do much of anything, right? Because we don't have the numbers. Sorry, that was a bad impression of her and a bad impression of a Southern drawl, but I tell you, she has got this affect that she puts on. She believes that speaking in that fashion will actually endear her toward a specific subset of society. She's an idiot and a moron, and that's why she's in the Moron Files. So yes, sweetheart, the Republicans don't have 60 votes in the Senate. But the plain and simple fact is that this shutdown, which began on October 1st, is the first one in American history triggered by a refusal of the opposing party to pass a clean continuing resolution. That's right. The first ever. So, yeah. Anyway, this shutdown, by the way, is proof, of course, that the Democrats are perfectly willing to hold the country hostage rather than accept a clean funding bill with no political riders attached. Republicans, meanwhile, have done what responsible leaders do. They voted repeatedly to keep the government open without turning it into a circus of partisan demands. And so, Crockett falls into that case. All right, you remember on the last Moron Files, we had that moron, Kate Abugzuglag, whatever her name is, out of Illinois, who was indicted for a violation of Title 18 United States Code, Section 111, which has to deal with obstructing a federal agent from doing their job. Well, she jumped on the Red Letter podcast, and she got there. Now, keep in mind, this woman, Kat, like I said, Kate, but it's Kat. Kat Abs. Anyway, she apparently didn't like the question that she was asked. And Kat claims to be like a Gen Z influencer, but she, well, here, let's just go ahead and take a look at what happened. Now, I'm coming in, and by the way, this is the Tara Palmieri show. Sorry, Palmieri. Not the Red Letter podcast. I was incorrect in that. The article is in the Red Letter, but this is the Tara Palmieri show, and with Kat anyway, the idiot that thinks that she can just block cars without any consequence. So we're gonna cut in the middle of the show because of the fact that I don't want to play the entire thing. So it's about 2 minutes and 42 seconds in, and here we'll just take a listen.
Heated movement. Did you etch the word pig on the side of an officer's car?
I'm not speaking to the specifics of anything that's in the indictment right now, but like I said, I do plan on pleading not guilty, and the evidence will come out in court, and I plan on winning.
Okay. Well, let's all watch the video of what happened that day that they are allowed. What do you, when you see that, what do you think right now?
Tara, once again, this is my first time being federally indicted. Like I said, I plan on pleading not guilty. The evidence will come out in court, and I plan on winning. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Just really quickly, I did want to ask you about just the fact that,
goodbye, Kat. Yeah. So Tara continues the conversation because she isn't even aware, because she doesn't happen to have, I guess, the screens that I do, or the ability to watch at the same time different things. I don't know. She's running. I don't know what her situation looks like in terms of her background or her whether or not she has a producer or whatever. But she goes and she checks, and she's like, "What, did she hang up on me?" I mean, talk about being pissed off. And, taking your ball and running home because you didn't get the questions that you were looking for. What did she think? I mean, you do something like that and you're being asked, literally, it wasn't an adversarial question either. I mean, I didn't feel like it was. I didn't feel like she was being asked an adversarial question. She would just say, what do you think? How do you feel? How do you feel about that? Nope. As typical per the leftist handbook, if you don't like what's going on, whine about it, and then run home. So, there you go. God, yeah, these people, I'm telling you, they cannot stand up to the truth. They honestly, they don't like the truth, and that's literally the problem with all of this. All right, folks. Let me go ahead and hit this up real quick because this next segment is going to be, I've got a few articles here, so this next segment's going to be a bit long. So we'll go ahead and go with it now. Oh, every single morning I got to have my coffee. I do. It's an addiction, I guess you could say. But it is definitely something that I have to do. I have my 16-ounce cup that came from my kids. It says "Father like no other" on it. It's my favorite cup of the house. The only cup I drink really realistically out of when it comes to coffee and even tea. I'll do tea after my coffee. But if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit has dropped. There are a limited number of units available. In each unit, you're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, the Vitality mushroom coffee that gives you clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All of these coffees are single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, you're also going to be receiving my personal favorite, a gold spoon clip, because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. You'll be receiving a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's personal opinions. She's got a lot of those. And you'll also be receiving a black 1775 tumbler. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 coffee blow up on Rumble and wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to the numbers 1775 followed by the word coffee, all one word. So 1775coffee.com/studio. And by the way, that / is your question mark key. 1775coffee.com/studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit before they are gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit today. All right. Well, for those of you that may not have been paying attention, there's this investigation into the investigation known as Arctic Frost. Now, Arctic Frost was a spying scandal. It was spying on the Trump organization again, but this time it was under the guise of the Jack Smith investigation into the events of like January 6th. And, well, there's a bit of a problem with this. Arctic Frost apparently received or got its warrant from none other than Judge Boasberg? Yeah. So here's how this worked, all right? Jack Smith subpoenaed like 160 different places and people and stuff like that. I mean, just a massive amount of information. He went ahead and subpoenaed all of these things. Under the subpoena, he was ordered to go to AT&T, in specific to go after Ted Cruz's phone records. So he went to get those. AT&T was then ordered by none other than Judge Boasberg to keep quiet about it, to not alert Ted Cruz. And Boasberg told AT&T that if Cruz was informed that he was getting those, that Cruz himself would destroy evidence and imperil national security. Really? Now, if you don't recognize that name, Boasberg, you need to understand that that was actually the same guy that tried to hold the Trump administration in contempt for not magically turning around plane loads of illegal immigrants, or aliens, more proper term, that had already taken off and had left U.S. airspace, which, by the way, that was vacated on appeal. And the appellate judge, Naomi Rao, chastising Boasberg for threatening contempt over an order that he never had the power to enforce in the first place. Yeah, you may remember that guy. Boasberg, who was also appointed by Barack Obama he has consistently worn his biases on his sleeves and has made essentially a mockery of the justice system for political ends. So why not would he, why not? Why wouldn't he be involved in Arctic frost? Of course. So that, it makes it, I mean, when you get a friendly judge, guess what? Maybe you don't have the probable cause that you would need in order to get a warrant. Maybe you don't have the, we know exactly what we're looking for and we can get a broad spectrum search warrant like what happened down in Mar-a-Lago. Maybe you can do that. But anyway. So, according to Cruz, Boasberg claimed that Cruz would destroy evidence if he were given legal notice of the subpoena of his phone records. Boasberg further asserted that national security would be imperiled in the process, which is a ridiculous overreach. So there would have been no national security had been harmed because the investigation had nothing to do with national security. It was over January 6th and the involvement of everybody in January 6th. Yeah. Yeah. So, by the way, what would Cruz have destroyed? What evidence would he have destroyed? Evidence of what? That he actually talked to Donald Trump on the phone? I guess that talking to somebody on the phone, especially if it's a conservative to conservative, is illegal now? I guess? Really? And by the way, I don't know about you, but I don't think that I have the ability to destroy records that is possessed by my phone service provider. How does that work? Yeah. Hey, I have no idea. It just doesn't make any sense to me as to how that would even happen. Well, in true Ted Cruz, I almost said Tom Cruise, Ted Cruz style, he responded, let's say very vehemently, with regards to what he would like to see happen to Judge Boasberg. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
I am right now calling on the House of Representatives to impeach Judge Boasberg. Judge Boasberg put his robe down, stood up and said, sign me up to be part of the partisan vendetta against 20% of the Republicans in the Senate. That is a dereliction of duty and a violation of the judicial oath. And I want to thank Chairman Grassley and Chairman Johnson for pursuing this tenaciously like a dog on a bone. We are going to get the answers of every person who signed off on this abuse of power, and mark my words, there will be accountability for these zealots who wanted to corrupt the Department of Justice and corrupt the judiciary in order to try to attack their enemies list.
Yeah. So there you go. And I totally and wholeheartedly 100% agree. They absolutely should. Yes, go after these guys, because I guarantee you that if nothing happens to them, they're going to just do it again. If they're not stopped at the gates, they're just going to do it again. That's literally what's going to happen here. And, these people, and it's not just one person. It's not just two people. It's not just a handful of people. It's a broad range and broad spectrum of these people who are doing this. Now, you may or may not believe in the idea of the deep state, but they certainly think that way. They are all indoctrinated into that kind of thought process, that the enemy is any conservative, regardless of whether the conservative is right or wrong or on the proper side of the Constitution or not. It doesn't matter. Well, one of the things that is going to be difficult to find is the 6 attorneys who signed off on the Arctic frost subpoenas because, according to the Federalist, they are no longer at the Department of Justice anymore. So in the latest document dump related to the Biden Justice Department's fishing expedition, targeting hundreds of conservative activists, donors, organizations, and even senators, Chuck Grassley on Wednesday released nearly 2,000 pages of subpoenas issued by special counsel Jack Smith's team for their targets, banking data, communications, and other information. It's 197 subpoenas, folks. They were issued to financial institutions, consulting firms, conservative organizations, PACs, individuals, technology companies, and they were all part of Smith's dragnet searching for incriminating evidence in regards to President Trump and his supporters during the 2024 presidential campaign. Now, again, keep in mind, this was all part of the January 6th, where they believed that there was a conspiracy that Donald Trump had committed essentially, sedition, treason, whatever it was that they were going after with him. I mean, yeah, the DOJ investigators even surveilled Ted Cruz, which is why he's pissed, off his landline. The senators revealed in a press conference on Wednesday, which you just saw. So all of these 6 attorneys are no longer employed by the DOJ. The assistant special counsel who signed the majority of the subpoenas, Maria Vento, is no longer employed by the DOJ and has not been for at least a few months, said a source familiar with the situation. A Maria Vento, presumably the same attorney before she parted ways with the DOJ, was credited in a DOJ press release in April as an assistant U.S. attorney and was arguing cases on behalf of the government in May in North Carolina. Her name apparently appears on more than 100 of the subpoenas issued on Wednesday. So, yeah. The source, that same source, also told the Federalist, where I'm getting this from, that Aaron B. Police, Pulice, could be Police, anyway, who signed roughly 24 of the subpoenas as an assistant special counsel, is also no longer employed by the DOJ. And Aaron Police, or Police, with the same middle initial, was affiliated with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Maryland, according to the website Justia. Brooke C. Watson, who operated as Smith's assistant special counsel, signed 18 different subpoenas in the document trove and was dismissed by Attorney General Pam Bondi back in August. She has since become a partner at Dynamis LLP. Also fired was Matthew Burke, who joined Smith's teams as an assistant special counsel in 2022. Burke signed subpoenas compelling former Trump campaign manager Brad Parscale and former Trump communications director Tim Murtaugh to produce, among other things, communications in which they or others discussed the 2020 presidential election. Now, Burke was fired from his role at the DOJ in late January. So were Timothy Duree, a special assistant United States attorney who signed a subpoena compelling documents and testimony from former DOJ employee Robert Gazaway, and also Mary Dorman, who signed a subpoena addressed to Christopher Miller, presumably Trump's former acting defense secretary. Yeah. So all of these people got fired. You think the deep state doesn't exist? Or at least the fact that the group of people who essentially threw away their ethics and morals and standards because of the fact that they had to, quote unquote, get Trump. Yep. That's exactly what's going on here. Sure is. All right. Well, we also found out that the Arctic frost subpoena trove from the Jack Smith organization, well, there was one of them, at least, that, and by the way, this was one of more than 400 Republican conservative entities that were targeted. Well, this nonprofit didn't even exist on January 6th of 2021. Wait, the investigation, now see, this kind of puts into perspective the, shall we say, magnitude. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. The magnitude of this situation in terms of the very wide net that was cast under the Jack Smith investigation. Because this guy, or this particular nonprofit, didn't even exist during the time of January 6th. So, why would they be looking into something that didn't exist prior or during January 6th? Why would they do that? So, yeah, it essentially was a witch hunt. That's literally what it comes. Now, America First Legal did not exist on January 6th of 2021. America First Legal Foundation. The whistleblower docs revealed that Jack Smith demanded the American First Legal records in Biden's FBI's Arctic Frost operation. And that by itself, folks, just shows the weaponization of the DOJ against the Patriots and the conservatives who were essentially targeted. And what I seem to recall this thing, this president who ordered the IRS to go after conservative nonprofit groups during his 8 years in office. What was that guy's name? Yeah, it started with an O. Oh, that's right. Obama. You don't think that Biden didn't have a hand in that as well? Or that he didn't agree with it? And back then, he was actually somewhat sentient. So, yeah. So the AFL posted on social media saying, reminder, America First Legal did not exist on January 6, 2021, but Jack Smith subpoenaed us anyway, because this was never about democracy. It was always about a political witch hunt. Talk about witches on Halloween. That's exactly what is going on here, a political witch hunt. And by the way, America First Legal was actually founded on April 6th of 2021. 3 months at least. 2 months after the Capitol riot actually took place. So this whole idea of Jack Smith, who, by the way, is questionable in all of his interactions anyway. But the Jack Smith was essentially going after anybody that he felt would be necessary in order to do this, to hunt out and try to prove something that doesn't exist. Meaning some sort of a collusion or something with regards to the conservatives. The leftist lunatics, yeah, they are what they say they are. They think, by the way, they think that they think that they got away with weaponizing the DOJ. I don't think that's going to fly very well. I really don't. Now, here in the Daily Signal, here are some 4 likely next steps from the congressional probe that has been uncovering all of this stuff. So the first one, of course, is the impeachment, potentially, of Judge Boasberg. And that, you heard, Senator Cruz called for the House to impeach Boasberg. Now, keep in mind that that can happen because the House actually is controlled by the Republicans. So, yeah. See, Boasberg signed off on that gag order in 2023, preventing the businesses that were subpoenaed from informing their clients. That included preventing AT&T from notifying Cruz. Yeah. So, there you go. Cruz also said that there was no facts or evidence to justify such a gag order and added that he is calling on the House of Representatives to impeach Boasberg. You heard that in that clip. Representative Brandon Gill, of the member of the House Judiciary Committee, which would oversee the judicial impeachment, posted on X, working on it in response to Cruz's call. So, yeah. So, we'll see what happens with that. And we're going to have to see. Now, Gill and other House Republicans have previously supported separate articles of impeachment against Boasberg in the past. And Gill told the Daily Signal in a statement, radical activist Judge James Boasberg continues to weaponize his judicial authority and target his political opponents. Judge Boasberg facilitated the egregious Arctic frost scandal where he equipped the Biden DOJ to spy on Republican senators. His lack of integrity makes him clearly unfit for the gavel. I'm proud to once again introduce articles of impeachment against Judge Boasberg to hold him accountable for his attempt to undermine the will of the people. Next thing is there is a possibility with regards to the presidential pardons. So the subpoenas that Grassley and Johnson released reveal that Smith's team had a significant interest in a group of what they called alternate electoral college electors who had been charged by state prosecutors. Now, Trump disputed the outcome of the 2020 election. A group of alternate electors convened in 7 states and cast their votes for Trump. The electors, in theory, were supposed to step in if the Trump campaign could prove election fraud or if the joint session of Congress that was supposed to certify the electors and their votes did not accept the official slate of electors certified by the states. Those states were Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Wisconsin, New Mexico, and Pennsylvania. Now, all of them, along with the Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney's Office, secured grand jury indictments against those contingent electors, which, by the way, having a second slate, the second slate of electors has gone all the way back to when JFK was elected the first time, because Hawaii had a separate slate of electors that went. So anyway, so the charges were typically for alleged forgery, impersonating a public officer, and attempting to file false documents. So what they see in these newly released 197 subpoenas, that those who received these subpoenas were asked for records of communication to, from, and with, or including any of the alternate electors listed, and the extent of that communication or document relates in any way to the certification of the 2020 presidential election. So now, there is a possibility that President Trump may pardon all of the electors who are currently under criminal indictment. So, yeah, that's a possibility. So, and the entire case, by the way, was predicated on the alternative electors. Now, how that went from this is from Cleta Mitchell, who is a senior legal fellow and founder of the Election Integrity Network with the Conservative Partnership Institute. She basically says how the entire case being predicated on the alternative electors, how it went from there to the entire Republican Party and the conservative movement is beyond her. So, her name, by the way, is mentioned several times throughout the subpoenas as the Smith team sought not only her communications, but also her credit report. So, Anyway. They also is a potential for criminally prosecuting the Justice Department personnel who were part of the Smith investigation team. According to Mike Howell, director of the Oversight Project, which is a watchdog group, the charges of conspiracy against rights would apply any time two or more individuals plotted to threaten, injure, or intimidate another American to prevent him from exercising his constitutional rights. In this case, the right to free speech and freedom of assembly, as well as the right against unreasonable searches and seizures. Howell told the Daily Signal the federal code does not contemplate this type of nefarious activity from the FBI or the DOJ. There's not a neat statutory application for this. He said to de-weaponize the government, you need more statutory safeguards. You have a law on conspiracy against rights. There should be more. He did say, in his opinion, that the officials involved in Arctic Frost should be removed and then charged. And he also anticipates more disclosures from the Justice Department and the FBI related to the Smith investigation. So, Anyway. This is bigger than Watergate. And what's interesting or coincidental, I guess, which I don't really believe in coincidences, but what is coincidental is all of this ties together. Everything that is going on in terms of the investigations now, all of the things that happened in 2020 with January 6th, all of the things that happened under the Biden administration against Trump, in terms of all of the lawfare against Trump, in terms of the lawfare that happened in the Russiagate collusion hoax back in 2020 and 2016. All of this stuff ties together. And it all ties back to essentially one ring leader. Whether anybody wants to admit it or not, it ties all the way back to this guy who is known as Barack Obama. Barack Hussein Obama. This is the one president who has not left D.C. since he was president. We all know that Biden was non compos mentis in the administration, that chances are, more than likely, the auto pen was directed by none other than Barack Obama. I've told you on this program that most, if not a vast majority, of the Biden administration White House was filled with Obama sycophants. And you don't think that he, because he visited there often, you don't think that he was giving directions behind the scenes to all of these people? Yeah. If you want to talk about conspiracy theories, that's a conspiracy theory that I can actually get behind. That Barack Obama is involved completely with all of this, going all the way back to the 2016 election. Probably because his witch, Hillary Clinton, didn't win. All right, folks. really quickly here. The SNAP program was supposed to be shut down tomorrow, starting tomorrow, November 1st. Well, now a federal judge has decided to step in and order the USDA, which manages that program, to pay for the SNAP benefits during the shutdown. Now, honestly, I'm still trying to figure out how this federal judge can actually do this, because, again, this is the same application of the lower court system that was created by Congress, okay, which is essentially what these federal judges are. Because remember, the only judge system, the only court system that was created by our founders, constitutionally created by our founders, is the Supreme Court. Now, if the Supreme Court tells the president, yes, you must pay SNAP while this is shut down, that's one thing. But we're talking about the court system below it. And the court system below it doesn't have the power. They don't have the power because Congress can't imbue a system that they create with any power that they do not have. Now, all of this being said, there is also a bit of a problem. For example, Brooke Rollins, who is the Agriculture Secretary, has denied the fact that on October 31st, that was today, she has denied the fact that the USDA has the money to pay for the SNAP. She was speaking to reporters in Washington, and she said that the U.S. Department of Agriculture has a contingency fund, but that contingency fund doesn't even cover half of what's needed to provide a SNAP for the over 40 million people on it. By the way, 40 million was a doubling. That's the number 42, actually, was a doubling under Obama of the people that are on SNAP right now. Anyway, by the way, Rollins also pointed out that that emergency fund is only allowed to flow if the underlying program is funded. So on October 25th, the Trump administration stated that it wasn't permitted to utilize the contingency fund with approximately $5 billion in it to fund SNAP. But the Democrat states went ahead and did a lawsuit, and that's where this federal judge is stepping in and saying, no, you have to fund SNAP. Yeah. Lawyers for the federal government argued against it, saying that dispersing full benefits would violate a law that bars the government from paying for programs without congressional appropriation. And in the court papers, the federal government said partial payments would require complicated recalculations of benefits that they themselves could take weeks. So, yeah, we'll see how far this actually goes. Again, folks, all of this is due to the fact that the Democrats in the Senate have refused to fund the government using a clean continuing resolution that does nothing else but fund the government at existing levels. Yeah. Anyway. All right. One last thing. We're going to fly out to LA really quick here. There's some new information. You remember those LA wildfires that created the Palisades burn? That burned down hundreds, if not thousands of homes? Put a lot of people in danger. Do you remember how this guy was arrested for starting the fire? Well, now the Los Angeles Fire Department brass has come under even more scrutiny and fire here. There are some texts that have been uncovered that show that the LA firefighters covering the still smoldering Lockman fire, which is where the Palisades fire came from, were ordered to leave that scene, even though the team that was left to watch for hotspots said, no, we can't leave because it's still smoldering. Now, for those of you that don't really understand fire prevention, whenever you have a fire of the magnitude that the Lockman fire actually was, you need to leave a team behind to watch out for re-flare-ups, for hot spots, for flames that might have gone underground and could reignite the fire. And especially if conditions occur that could help instigate those flare-ups, which is exactly what happened. Because days after the Los Angeles Fire Department was ordered to leave, predicted killer winds caused that same fire to flare up again. One of the text messages or text exchanges between the firefighters that was put it later said that, and the rest is history. Now, that conflagration killed 12 people, destroyed thousands of homes and businesses in the Pacific Palisades and Malibu. The Los Angeles Times reported that firefighters tending the aftermath of the 8-acre Lockman fire on January 2nd were told by a commander in a text that they needed to leave. The firefighters explained that the rocks and the ground that they were watching for hotspots was still hot to the touch. To the firefighters' surprise, the battalion chief ordered them to roll up their hoses and pull out of the area on January 2nd, the day after the 8-acre blaze was declared contained, rather than stay and make sure there were no hidden embers that could spark a new fire. Yeah. So one of the text messages, by the way, was a firefighter who was at the scene on January 2nd. He texted the battalion chief, had been told that it was a bad idea to leave the burns car unprotected because of the visible signs of smoldering terrain. This could cause a bit of a problem for the higher-ups in the Los Angeles Fire Department. And by the way, the Palisades fire is the most destructive in California's history. So, yeah. Oh, also, too, just as a side note to all of this, the LA firefighters were not pre-deployed, even though they had days' notice of the coming Santa Ana windstorm. So, Gavin Newsom's claim that he had pre-deployed fire engines on state land nearby was checked untrue. So there you go. There you go. So, yeah. Democrats have no idea what the hell they're doing in a lot of these cases. And they especially don't know what the hell they're doing with a lot of stuff that matters. Okay. All right, really quickly, I just want to say Halloween. Halloween is what we're celebrating tonight, which, I mean, let's be honest, it's really not much of a celebrating, but Halloween itself, by the way, came originally from the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. It's spelled Samhain, but everybody pronounces it incorrectly. It's S-O-W-I-N, Samhain. And that festival was where people would light bonfires, wear costumes to ward off ghosts. So in the 8th century, though, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor All Saints, and that's where All Saints' Day comes from, which is tomorrow. And unfortunately, well, I don't know if unfortunately or fortunately, but as time went on, these two kind of meld together, and so All Saints' Day actually incorporated some of the traditions of Samhain. The evening before is known as All Hallows Eve, later became Halloween. And over time, Halloween evolved into a day of activities like trick-or-treating, carving jack-o'-lanterns, festive gatherings, wearing costumes, and eating treats. So that's where Halloween comes from in a very quick overview. So, all right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, be sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to give me those thumbs up, thumbs downs, or, of course, if you're 3 Chevy, the thumb sideways. Across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, Saturday night, being 1 hour later, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. And we will see you tomorrow night. Have a great rest of your evening. Good luck to all of you trick-or-treaters out there. Hope you get a lot of candy. And good night, everybody.